I recently built a distribution board for a part of my house, and in this video I'll walk you through the installation process. Besides the circuit breakers, an RCD and a surge arrestor, it contains a KNX Universal Actuator for switching the lights, heating valves and roller shutters. So-called installation terminal blocks serve as an interface to the outgoing cables. I live in Germany and therefore follow the German standards and conventions. Please note that they aren't necessarily applicable to the region you live in. Before I start, let me quickly show you the tools and components which will be used. Let's begin to work. First, the backside of the board containing the DIN rails is mounted to the wall. The input cables come from the main distribution board in the basement. There is one 5-wire power cable with 6 square mm cross section, a green KNX cable and an orange Cat7 Ethernet cable. I carefully stripped the insulation from the 5-wire power cable. It is then connected to the branch terminals. A surge arrestor goes next to the branch terminals. On the next DIN rail I install a 30 mA RCD. It gets connected to the branch terminals by some wires I prepared beforehand. So far all the wires I used have 6 square mm cross section. This is sufficient because the incoming line is protected by a 35 amp fuse inside the main distribution panel. The neutral wire is routed from the RCD to the top DIN rail in order to connect the neutral bus bar of the installation terminal blocks later. The same applies to the protective earth, which is used to ground the top DIN rail via a ground terminal block. For the time being, I only need 3 16 amp circuit breakers. I connect them to the RCD with a 3-phase bus bar. The open terminals are secured against accidental touch by a protective cover. Now it's time to install the KNX Universal Actuator. The green KNX cable consists of 4 wires. 2 of them are unused and get cut off after stripping off the installation. The red and black wire are plugged into a KNX terminal block. The KNX Universal Actuator is simply clicked onto the DIN rail and the terminal block is inserted, connecting the actuator with the KNX bus. In order to provide strain relief for the outgoing cables, I installed a so-called profile rail on the wall above the distribution board. The cables are then tied to the rail with zip ties. I strip off the cable's insulation, leaving approximately 30 cm long wires inside the distribution board. Next, I install the installation terminal blocks, which provide the interface to the outgoing cables. They are simply clipped onto the DIN rail in a predetermined order. The center group of installation terminal blocks collects 4 3-wire cables for heating valves. Each terminal block within this group provides connectors for PE, neutral and the brown live wire. The left-hand group is for roller shutters. Since these require 5-wire cables, there are additional terminal blocks in between to interface the black and grey wires. The right-hand group is for lighting and power sockets, collecting 4 5-wire cables and 1 3-wire cable. Here I made a mistake, which I'll stumble upon only later in the video. As you may notice, I picked the wrong installation terminal blocks, at least for the ones for the PE, brown and neutral wires. I accidentally picked the ones without neutral busbar clamping terminals. Each protective earth wire is now connected to the DIN rail, which is in turn grounded by the previously installed ground terminal block on the left. Another very nice feature of the installation terminal blocks is the possibility to insert a busbar which connects to all the neutral wires by operating a lever with a small screwdriver. This is the moment I noticed that I picked the wrong terminal blocks for the right-hand group. After fixing the mistake, the busbar is now properly installed. It is then attached to the RCD's neutral terminal by means of the blue wire which I prepared earlier. It's time to deal with the KNX Universal Actuator. It contains remote-controlled relays in order to switch different kinds of appliances. Each switching channel has individual input and output terminals. I prepared cable bridges in order to supply several channels via a single circuit breaker. The first circuit breaker is for roller shutters and heating valves. The second one is for lighting. All brown wires in the right-hand terminal block group are for power outlets and will be routed directly to the third circuit breaker. Because I cannot fit 5 individual wires into the breaker, I make use of another nice feature of the installation terminal blocks. There are special jumpers which can be modified to leave out certain terminals. By inserting them to the installation terminal blocks, the desired electrical connections are established. A single wire to the breaker is now sufficient to provide power to 5 outgoing cables. The remaining terminals are bridged to the KNX actuator. The board is now completed and finally I apply the cover, tighten the screws and close open slots by cover strips. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, stay tuned for more DIY projects on this channel to come soon.